This Friday, February 7th, marks 160 years since Illinois struck down laws that kept free black people from entering the state and gave those already here just 10 days to get out. 12 years before that, an historic meeting taking place in what's now downtown Chicago at Clark and Randolph, where men and women from across the country work to find a way for Illinois' black residents to enjoy the American promise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Slavery existed in what would become Illinois for about half a century before the area gained statehood in 1818, outlawing the practice. But in 1853, Illinois passed a so-called black law, also known as a black code, and at the time, it was the harshest restriction of black people in the country.
There were already a whole lot of discriminatory policies on the books, but this new law went a step further, basically barring black migration into the state. And if people came in and were found to be illegally in the state, they would be fined. And if they could not pay the fine, they could be forced to labor without pay, which is why some people called it the slave law.
Kate Mazur is a historian and professor at Northwestern University and author of the book Until Justice Be Done.
It was a really punitive, really racist law.
Well into the years approaching the Civil War, the land of Lincoln struggled to find its footing when it came to rights for black citizens.
A lot of African Americans living south of the Ohio River really did see even places like Illinois and Indiana as better places to go. Slavery wasn't technically legal in those places, and yet it was absolutely not like a place that was out without racism. In fact, they had Illinois and also Indiana had these laws that were explicitly anti-black.
So black leaders in Illinois mobilized, gathering business owners, tradesmen, ministers, and other influential African Americans from across the country to gather here. The Illinois Colored Convention of 1853 was so big, it drew the attention of Frederick Douglass, who delivered the keynote address.
Frederick Douglass was the most prominent, I would say, sort of black man in America at the time, right? A statesman in a lot of regards. And so he was at the vanguard of this idea that black people are citizens of the United States. They were born on American soil and that they have rights.
Graduate student Marquise Taylor is one of the researchers from Northwestern who contributed to the Colored Conventions Project, a digital exhibit documenting the important conversations that were had at that historic event.
The central priority was getting those laws repealed, but there were other things on the table about promoting economic activity.
Black people within the state are paying taxes for this development of public schools. However, black children are denied access to those schools, right?
One of the delegates in attendance, Martin Delaney, an educated free man who had been admitted to Harvard Medical School, but was asked to leave amid widespread protests from white students. He argued that blacks should consider leaving the country.
The Chicago Convention resolves that we're not interested in any of that. And they basically say, we should stay here, we are Americans, we should be claiming our rights here.
The decision is recorded in the conference's resolution, stating opposition to all attempts to expatriate us from the land of our birth, declaring we will plant our trees in American soil and repose in the shade thereof.
When I see myself in this space serving in the state capitol, not just as a black person, but also as a woman, serving in leadership. There were a few generations ago, I would have only been able to sweep those floors.
Illinois Representative Jahan Gordon Booth says she's grateful for the groundwork laid so long ago.
The only reason why I'm able to do the things that I'm able to do and work on behalf of the people and provide representation to people that look like me and those that don't, it's because of those leaders of that time that decided that we may not be able to experience the shade of the tree, of the seed of the tree that we plant, but we're going to do it anyways.
Mazur hopes all Illinoisans will find inspiration in the state's sometimes complicated history.
I have always thought that it's a really momentous day in Illinois history, that after all of this struggle to repeal these laws, which were so inequitable and so racist, that it finally happens on February 7th of 1865. And I've always felt like having recognition of that would be really amazing, because it would shed light both on the negative aspects of Illinois history, the fact that this state had these racist policies, that are really part of our history that we need to recognize, but at the same time could also recognize the Black activism, the political struggles, the fight for equality, and the accomplishments of what they were able to do in a way that also shows, these issues are with us to this day, struggles continue.
We are barely brushing the surface of this incredible chapter of Illinois history. You can find more by delving into the rich research of Northwestern University's Colored Conventions Project. We'll have a link on our website.